sir.
No, you take my kindness for weakness. Thought I was a fool. Now you're trying to mash up my love life. Why not play it cool? Gala, who you think you are? You think you a superstar? Gala, who you think you are? You better stay far. Fancy lady, and bangles and things. You must be crazy in your biggest boots and rings.
Hey.
Gal, who you think you are? You think you a superstar? Gal, who you think you are? You better stay far.
Awesome. Thank
Oh.
you.
Hello, good people. Hello, beautiful people. Um, Welcome to the Fancy Lady Music Channel. And today I'm doing this video in connection with my esteemed colleague. She's a Jefferson Award winner, Jefferson Award for Community Service winner. Her name is Kelly Armstrong, and her podcast is called
Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen.
Where Real Conversations Happen. Check her out on YouTube. Also, check out the Fancy Lady Music Channel. And today we're here to discuss
Rita Marley.
Rita Marley.
Love her.
Rita, we're here to discuss Rita.
My new shero.
Right, her new Shiro, in connection with the One Love Bob Marley
The Marley
movie.
movie,
And
yes.
since we're approaching the end of International Women's Month, so we thought this would be a good time to discuss Rita's role in the movie, how she was portrayed, and what she taught us.
Yes. So before we get started, I actually want to give a shout out to Sheila for actually including me in this wonderful topic, because I was not that familiar with Bob Marley or Rita Marley. I mean, of course, I knew Bob Marley's music, but in terms of his life and his lifestyle, all of that, I did not know. And after seeing the movie, after reading the book, it just opened me up to a whole new way of seeing and understanding who Rita Marley really is. And I can't wait for us to be able to tell you what she means to us. And yeah, so let's get it going.
Let's get it.
So, how many of you guys actually seen the movie? I thought the movie was phenomenal. I thought the casting was superb. The music, everything. But I don't think you really get to understand the movie unless you read the book. And the book is called, what's the name of that, Sheila?
No Woman, No Cry.
Imagine that.
My Life with Bob Marley. Rita Marley with Hetty Jones.
Yeah. So I think it really ties in everything because, of course, before I read the book and just saw the movie, I saw the movie a couple of times, I didn't really have an understanding as to why Rita would put up with some of the stuff that she put up with. But after reading the book, I was like, that's because she's what you call a genuine woman. This woman, you guys, I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'm going to let Sheila kind of go from here.
Well, I think that when I saw One Love, I think it felt like a lot of the material in One Love was drawn from this book. I've read it twice. When I first read it back in the 90s, I was so enamored with it. And years ago, I was asked by the Marley family to review a special edition Rita Marley album. So I read the book again for research, and man, it still blew me away. The main point is that Rita, if it weren't for Rita, Bob wouldn't be into reggae and Rastafari, because as you know, he was headed in sort of another direction. He idolized Curtis Mayfield and the Harmony groups of that time. As you see in the movie, you could see him in the recording sessions. So Kelly and I feel that, what do you think about?
What was the question?
If it weren't for Rita, would Bob have been in reggae music?
Honey, hush your mouth. She is the reason why Bob became Bob Marley. And not only because she put up with so much of his shenanigans, but because she really loved this man. She loved his talent, his ability. And then you have to remember that they met at a very young age. They grew up together. So, she knew him when he had nothing, absolutely nothing. And once she became a Rastafarian and she got indoctrinated into it, it really became a part of who she really was. And one of the things that I didn't know that I found very interesting about what a Rastafarian was, because in my mind, I just thought they were somebody that smoked weed all the time and wore dreadlocks, and that was it. But that was so far from the truth. I mean, it was a spiritual connection with them. It was about love. It was about unity. It was about caring for their people. And that is what Bob and Rita did. I mean, and the simple fact that she raised kids from him out of wedlock actually shows that she really believed in what her spirituality. She really believed in that. So I find her a fascinating woman. I find her to be extremely intelligent. Matter of fact, as I was reading the book, you guys, you should see how many highlights I got in this book, that I'll be reading some of these things to you guys that I thought were very, very interesting. Some of the things that she said that really made me have this connection with her, because being a married woman myself, I was just like, wow. So what people, I think, really need to understand is that it's not that she was really okay with some of the things that he did. She talks about how it hurt her, how disappointed she was because of some of the things she did. So it's not like she was like, oh, I'm staying with this man, because she wasn't staying with him for his money or anything like that. Because remember, she was with him when he had nothing. And the simple fact that he never, ever divorced her, that should tell you something too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes. And I am the opposite of Kelly. My relationships, I was in love with a young man that was polyamorous, a Jamaican musician. And so I wasn't in the position to be a wife. I wasn't married. And I saw how he was able to manage multiple relationships and multiple households, but still give each woman love and make each woman feel like $1 million. Whether they had children with them, whether they didn't. Although I'm in contact with about 5 of those women right now, and I consider them my sisters since he's gone. And if I talk to any one of them, they will say that that was truly the love of their lives. And I think we don't really understand this in Western culture. And I think a lot of controversy from the movie is the polyamory in the movie that's hinted at and its impact on Rita.
Yeah.
But you're saying, Kelly, that Rita...
when she had so much love in her spirit, just as Bob did. And the simple fact, what I actually thought about, Bob died at 39 years old. He was very young.
36, yeah.
Had she not allowed him to be him, I don't know if he would have been the Bob Marley that he became. Bob Marley was a free spirit, and she allowed him to be that and not get in the way of that. And it's because of her now that's keeping his legacy alive.
Right.
The simple fact that I think he knew what kind of woman he was marrying. I really think he knew. Maybe she didn't know what she was getting into.
Right.
But he surely knew what he had in her.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the book, she makes it clear. She said, I didn't want a light-skinned boyfriend. I wanted a tall black boyfriend. She says it in the book. So she said her taste was more towards someone like Peter Tosh, who was tall and dark-skinned. But I think it was something about Bob's spirit that you're saying that took to her. They were kindred spirits and twin flames.
Well, it was interesting that you actually brought up the skin color thing, because I know, her being a dark woman, she said that she was discriminated against a lot.
It's in the movie.
Growing up, where that really kind of bothered her. We need to stop that, y'all. We really need to stop that.
Yeah, we do.
Colorism.
Colorism, boo.
It's like really, especially, in black folks, we come in every color under the sun.
Shades, rainbow.
Brothers and sisters can grow up in the same house with the same mom and daddy and still be different colors. So we need to stop light and dark, because you know what? We're all the same, really. You cut us, we bleed.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I loved about the book, and I don't remember seeing that much of it in the movie, about Auntie.
Yes, Auntie. Yes.
Honey, everybody need an auntie. I want an auntie.
I want an auntie.
I loved her, because Auntie was like, stand on top of her, making sure that she was going to do something worthwhile with her life. So when she got pregnant, Auntie was too through with her.
Right.
But Auntie stuck by her, gave her the kind of guidance and the help that she needed up until the day that Auntie left here. So, I want to give out some love and shout to Auntie,
to
because
Auntie.
you did your thing. And I mean, you kept Bob in check too.
Right.
And Bob was scared of Auntie.
And some of the children, I think I heard Ziggy say in an interview that when Bob and Rita would go on tour, it was an auntie that would watch them.
Right.
I wonder if it's the same auntie.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love me some Auntie,
Yeah.
and I really wish that I would have seen her.
Yeah. In the book, Don Taylor got mad at Auntie because she pulled out a Jamaican doctorfish on the plane because I guess she didn't like the airline food, so she was just, I'm over it. I brought my food. And Don Taylor was mortified. But I think that preserving one's culture, one's Jamaicanness, one's blackness, there is no shame in that. I think she should have been allowed to eat her food on the plane without judgment and without somebody culturally or mansplaining and man-checking her. Yes, that was good. Yeah. Glad she did that, and she made sure her niece, Rita, that everybody had the foods that they were used to and didn't have to get sick on their airline food. She culturally stood her ground, and I like that.
Yeah, and that was an interesting thing about, too, with Rita and Bob. They were both into health, nutrition, eating healthy foods. And the thing that I found very funny is neither one of them liked America.
Right.
That tickled me to no end. Bob was like, I got to get up out of here.
Right.
He's like, man, they go to work. He just didn't understand the series. He said, I'm going back to Jamaica where I can just do music. This other stuff is not working for me. So I thought that was very funny that they did not like America.
One of my favorite parts of the book is when Rita, in order to keep her family together and still be with Bob, she relocated to Delaware where Bob's mother was living. And she was just treated so horribly there. She had to clean buildings when she was heavily pregnant. And she writes about the fact that when she left the kids at daycare, someone had put snow in Ziggy's little snowsuit. They went used to snow there from Jamaica.
Right.
And Ziggy got violently ill.
He got sick.
And I'm thinking, wow, what a brave woman to leave an island culture. She's never been to America before, to be pregnant and have to fend for herself and her children. I don't think that I could have done that.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, you do what you got to do, and that's what they did, but I think I found it interesting that when she did meet Bob's mom, she saw the resemblance where they looked alike.
Oh, yeah, they looked
so
alike.
it's like, oh, so he just went and married his mama.
Right. Right.
So I thought that was kind of cool that, because she did look like her.
Yes, she did. They had the similar phenotypes.
I was just like, wow.
Both had regal dark skin, glowing dark skin, and vibrant afro hair that turned majestically into dreadlocks, and big, bright, toothy smiles.
Yes, yeah. And the other thing that I thought was fascinating, too, is that she was one of the Wailers, even though, her group was called something different.
The I3s,
yes. But, but she said, when you're with Bob, everybody's a Wailer.
Right,
with him,
yeah.
You're going to be a Wailer today.
Yes, got to be a Wailer.
And the simple fact that, he loved having her on set with him, to be able to do that. And the simple fact that she had that kind of talent, too. I mean, she was just a Renaissance woman. She could do a lot of things. I remember when she bought the house, when she wanted to get her kids out of Trenton.
Right.
And she got this house built and furnished it and did everything to make it a home. And the best part that she loved about it was her garden.
Yeah.
Where the people told her, you can't grow anything here. This is sand. And she showed them, well, let me show you. And she ended up doing the greens and all the other stuff.
There's a lot of magic in this book.
Yeah. It really is. Like I said, I just really couldn't put it down. And when I started getting near the end, I was like, no, I don't want it to end. So I started going real slow. Like, I didn't want it to end because it's and the whole while I'm reading the book, I was telling Sheila that I actually turned on my Pandora station to Bob Marley, and all of his songs were playing, and then some of his kids' songs, the Damien and Stevens. I was just like, oh my God, just a talented family. And he loved his children.
Mm-hmm.
She loved her children.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about her is that not only did she teach her children manners, but she taught them how to love, how to be courteous, how to be kind. And that's something that Lord knows we still need to be doing, you guys. We need to be doing that with our children.
Right. And I was telling her that I have had many interactions. In fact, I've professional relationships with her children, primarily Ziggy and Steven, and I've gone to different places and seen them, and they are just the most loving people. They have the spirit of Bob and Rita, that openness, that willingness to talk to fans, stay late after a show, sign autographs, hang out, laugh with people, cry with people, hear their stories. That is very rare. Now, I heard Michael Jackson was like that too. I heard that, sometimes if you got into Neverland, when it was time to leave, you didn't want to go. You wanted to stay around Michael forever. And I think that's the spirit that Bob had. And with his children, now his son, I find it so ironic that his grandson, Y.G. Marley, who's the son of Rohan Marley and Lauryn Hill, got one of the close to number one hits on the Billboard charts, Praise John in the Moonlight. His other grandson, Elijah, which is the son of his son Damien, now is proven to have a beautiful voice, anointed voice. So the grandchildren are taking over now. And Bob said, and it sticks and mentioned in the book, you might be tired of seeing my face, but you can't get me out of the race. So even though he died at 36, his legacy is stronger than ever, don't you think?
Absolutely. And you know what? Definitely because of his children and because of them keeping his music alive and keeping it in the face of the public. So I'm just so glad that the movie was well received.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad the movie was well received.
It was number one in the box office.
Because Bob, he definitely, he was the messenger. He brought the message of love, peace, and harmony. In spite, so people focus mostly on the kids out of wedlock and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, you know what? No, because that is his legacy now. So let's just talk about what his music did to people. You cannot put on a Bob Marley anything and not move to it.
Right.
There is no way.
It's like
Even if you just, if you're in a situation where you can't get up and dance, you still gonna be doing this.
You're right.
Or you're gonna be tapping on something. There is no way you're not gonna be moved or touched by the music.
Right.
And not only the music, but even the lyrics. And it was interesting. That's what I found very interesting. And Rita says this a lot in the book. When she'll name a song that he performed, she goes, he only writes about things that are going on in his life. So all of his stuff that he wrote about, you guys, were things that he was dealing with.
And I like the way the movie opens with a scene of utopia, bliss. You have this beautiful cinematic footage of the ocean and the waterfalls, and people are wading in the water and just having fun and playing soccer. But all of a sudden you're taken out of paradise by the sound of gunshots. And then you're going through the ghetto. It just shocks you out of reality. And I think that Bob had the ability to, Narada Michael Walden once told me the sign of a good recording is when it has a penthouse view and an outhouse bottom. So then I interpret it as Bob Marley sang about poverty and violence and despair and heartbreak, but then his music also had great joy. So it took you from the bottom and elevated you to the top, especially to, let's see, the album Exodus, for instance. Exodus is pure struggle, but the end is joy. So, and this is another book that I recommend, Exodus, the Book of Exodus by Vivian Goldman. If you want to know about Bob's years in London and the creation of the Exodus album, this is also a good one to check out. So he sang about misery, but he didn't leave you there. At the end of his music, there's hope, and I think that's the sign of a great artist.
He definitely. And you know what? It got to the point where it seemed like that whole village depended on him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he became the messiah of Trenton Town.
Right, right.
You know, and when he left and went away, you know, they wanted him back.
Right.
So when he came back to Jamaica, were they excited or what?
Oh, yes, yes. That was a great scene in the movie where he's literally getting mobbed.
Right. I love that. I was just like, wow.
Wouldn't you have loved to be an extra in that scene?
Man, that was just so cool. I just thought, wow.
Yeah,
so his hometown was like, Bob is back.
Right, you know, right. And we were just talking about how we don't have real superstars like that anymore since the loss of Michael Jackson and Prince and Whitney Houston in America. We don't really have people that are that level of superstars that are literally worship, that change people's lives. Bob Marley's music actually have liberate several countries, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so his mark is worldwide. So, and that's another thing to keep in mind, that Bob wasn't just, you know, a pop artist. He was definitely an international icon. I would love to go to Jamaica to see his museum. I bet you that is so
It's
cool.
incredible. And a lot of the structure of the house and everything, it's exactly how he left it in the 70s. You could even see the original bullet hole in the wall.
Wow.
On the tour. And I got to tell a story. My first time going to Jamaica, it was just so ironic. I went on a girls trip with a group of women. We went to Ocho Rios, and these women were just so nasty to me, just awful and bitter and whatever. And so I wanted to get away from these women. So I said, I'm out of here. So I called my friend Glenn Brownie, shout out to you. I said, I need to go to Kingston. I got to get away from these people. Where should I go? He said, are you kidding? You know the only place we go? The Bob Marley Museum. That's the obvious place. He said, I'm doing a recording session there at Tough Gong Studios. So I got in that taxi. That's the first stop, dropped me off at the museum, all my luggage, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I'm from America, right? So I go up to the gate at the museum. You know, could I come in and see what's going on? You know, I hang out with Ziggy and blah, 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 and I'm from America. The woman was like, you can't just come here and say you know Ziggy and get into this museum for free. So I look over, and who is playing soccer in the courtyard but Ziggy and his brothers?
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, Ziggy! He comes over. Beautiful big smile. Hey, man. Hey, big open. He said, so you want to go on tour? And so we embraced each other. The woman, oh my God, now she was my best friend. Oh, we'll take your luggage while you go in. You know, we'll recommend a hotel. So yeah, so it was one love. Yeah. My first time at the museum, and it was a gathering place. It was like a craft market. There were people selling their wares, people selling their music, people engaging in getting together, talking about Pan-Africanism. Students, tourists from all over the world. It's like a global marketplace.
Wait, right, because I remember when Rita said that her restaurant was also still there.
Yes, it was an Ethiopian restaurant when I was there. Yes.
Her restaurant's still there.
Yeah.
And then also what I realized, I'm looking right here at one of my notes, where not only is the museum in Kingston, but there's another one in Universal Studio in Orlando, Florida.
No, we got to go.
Yeah,
we got to go.
It just says right there. So I never imagined the cage as part of history, but there are two replicas of it now, one at the Bob Marley Museum in Kingston and the other one at Universal Studio in Orlando, Florida.
Let's go. I forgot about that one. Yes, let's go. And I think Kelly should see it. And I'm also going to ask Kelly this question because she is a stylist, image consultant, and she makes clothing. So I wanted to ask you, Kelly, what did you think about the 70s aesthetic in the movie In One Love in terms of wardrobe and hairstyling?
You know, I thought they did a great job. I really did. I don't know if I spent a whole bunch of time looking at that because I was so busy looking at so many other things in the movie, especially like Ben E. Kingsley or whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah, Ben Kingsley. Yeah,
he
great
was
job.
a nice thing to look at. So I think I was looking at him.
Okay.
But I also, I thought they did a great job, especially like with all the hairstyles with the women. the setting, everything just looked so authentic. It just looked like it was really happening right then and there. I think Bob would really be proud of what his family has done,
Yes,
and how they're keeping his legacy alive. I just, find it amazing, because I believe that they're bringing in a whole new audience of, young people to get to know Bob, and even older people, because like I said, I didn't know that much about Bob Marley and the Wailers, and his lifestyle, and now I know his kids are performers, so I'm listening to them, because remember I told you I was listening to Stephen,
Stephen,
and I was like, oh, that child can sing.
Right, okay. Oh, shout out to Stephen.
Yeah, and Damien too.
Damien,
those two are
Junior Gong.
Right, and I got to hear their music, and I was like, oh no, so this is like Bob lives on.
Right. Wait till you hear the grandchildren. I mean, this movie is also dedicated to Joe Mercer Marley, we lost him tragically at the end of 2022, but he was about to blow up as a huge dance hall artist. Joe Mercer, and the grandchildren is Joe Mercer, Elijah Marley, YG Marley, Mystic Marley, Skip Marley. How could I forget Skip? So now people know the grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the 90s when Damien and the Melody Makers started in the 80s, right? So then Melody Makers, Bob's Children dominated in the 80s. Then in the 90s, you started to see the rise of Junior Gong. Okay. And Julian Marley and those guys. And now in the 2000s, we're seeing the rise of the grandchildren.
Wow.
Yes, who I just mentioned. Yes.
Well, one of the things I remember from the book and the movie is that Rita talked about how Bob worked. He was like Prince and Michael. I think they were put on this earth to do music.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And she said that when the background singers, if they kind of went off, if they were tired or something and they weren't really kind of singing in harmony, he would go off.
Oh, right.
Like,
I bet he would.
Y'all need to get this right.
Right, a perfectionist in the studio.
So, she said it was not easy working with him because he was, a hard worker and didn't know when to stop.
Right.
And that just made me think of Prince and Michael, how they just were driven. So people that sell their souls to their music or to their work, they're definitely a different breed.
And sometimes their life on earth here is not that long.
Nope.
Maybe because all the energy they extend.
And I think, and there's a part of me that wonder, do they know this?
Right.
I think there's a part at some time where they're doing this because it's like, you know what, I don't have a lot of time. And that's what made me so happy about Rita for being able to let Bob be Bob. And especially now that he is gone and gone so soon, that I think if we were able to bring him back and ask him, did you live your life the way you wanted to, he would say yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I think he would be very happy that he was able to do it. And then for Rita, now let's talk about her, because she gave up a lot.
She did, yeah.
She gave up a lot, but she never regretted it. That's one of the things that I love about her too. She never regretted it. She knew she was just doing what she had to do, because first she was a wife, first and foremost. Secondly, she was a mother, and then her career was just kind of interspersed in there. So she was able to do some of the things that she wanted to do. She got to do her solo album, and she got to do, her music years later, so she still got to do it. But she didn't want to sacrifice being a good wife and a good mother to do that. Right. Where so many other people would put their career ahead. Right. And she didn't do that. So I have so much respect for this woman. Yeah. And I don't understand where she got her energy either, because she was she had just as much energy as Bob, okay?
Right.
Because I think that's the only way she was able to keep up with him. So she definitely had to be fit, and she would do her workout and she would do her stuff, but she was just a very interesting woman who, like I said, I've come to admire. And
and don't sleep on Rita. She knew where to go to get her needs met. She wasn't the woman crying at home and talking about her man was gone and possibly doing this. She lived her own independent life. She had her friends, she had her children, she had a garden, like Kelly mentioned. She had her own music career.
And then she had what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Exactly, she had that. That was hinted at in the movie, and good for her. I am a proponent of polyamory. In Western culture, we don't really understand it. A lot of people like one person for one person, but certain cultures, it kind of makes sense, especially when you dealing with people that aren't long on this earth. So they're giving their energy wherever they can, maybe because they know. So they're spreading, getting, people are falling in love with them. They're having experiences that the normal person wouldn't have because we are stuck in one place. Like maybe our one household or our one little city, or we don't travel. We don't. Oh, and also Bob was global. He went all over the world.
Right, he did.
Yeah, unlike most of us, unlike a lot of us, he had the opportunity to experience so many people and places, things, and a lot of women, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And child and women just pour out. I guess when you're a celebrity, it's just par for the taking. Because she actually said that in the beginning of the book. She told Bob, she says, Bob, we've heard the stories about what happens once you start gaining the notoriety and all of that stuff. And she was like, don't get caught up in it. She did try to tell him that.
Right, she did. We saw that in the movie, in the alley, right? The famous scene in the alley.
Yeah, but he was like, I think I'm going to get caught up, girl.
Right.
I want to get caught up. And, but he did, but it still never stopped him from being creative, and it didn't stop him from doing what he set out to do. And the interesting thing is, too, now, I thought he was filthy rich, but Rita made it very clear near the end of the book that they didn't really start making money until after he was gone.
Yes, I believe it. That's what happens with a lot of black artists.
And then just remember how they got ripped off.
Yes.
They got ripped off by so many people
by
taking his publishing. And I'm just like, the music industry need to stop
I know.
Well, but you know what? These young kids are making it stop
anyway.
They are. They're taking
claiming
it back.
Yeah. That's and the reason we can't feature we don't feature Bob Marley's music on this video, of course, because it's copyrighted, and we respect that.
It would have been so nice, though, to be able to play One Love.
Yeah, I know, right? So you're going to have to sing, Kelly. I'm going to have to sing. But the younger generation definitely knows about copyrights and ownership and publishing. And I think that is great. And you don't have to have a traditional entourage and go into a recording studio. You can make a hit song on your iPhone now.
Yeah.
And have all of the rights. So I think that's pretty cool. I think back then it was a lot more formal. You have to be signed to a record company. You had to get the record company to sign you, and then you had to hire a publicist and managers. You had to have a whole entourage like Bob did.
Well, and it seemed like that he did have a friend in Chris Blackwell.
Chris Blackwell.
Of course, Chris Blackwell seemed like he was an up and up kind of guy. So that it's nice if you can find one person that's honest and that's going to do you right. But for the most of the time, you have to be really careful because people are there, seeing what they can get most of the time.
Right.
It's very rare that people are really there for you, because when he got sick and when he was there, where were all of the people? Who was really there for him? I don't know.
Rita?
Well, I mean, we know Rita was there. I mean, we definitely know that she was there.
His children.
But in terms of, and like
mother.
those two Whaler guys, that when Rita tried to reach out to them and they kind of dissed her, I was like, because they were still upset.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like,
talking about Bunny and Peter.
Right, they're going to hold a grudge? Like, are you serious?
Right.
So I'm sure that shocked her. But I don't know I hope eventually that they came along. I don't know if they ever did or not.
Yeah, history is debatable. I'll have to research and maybe go through some of the books, because maybe that's a good point, because maybe there needs to be a Bunny Whaler movie and a Peter Tosh movie, so it's balanced.
Yeah.
Or maybe, a Whalers movie, and
and I can understand them feeling like, they got kicked to the curb, but you have to remember, in every group, and this isn't always the case, but in most cases, there's always going to be that one star.
Yeah.
Like when Michael became Michael and Smokey became Smokey.
Right.
Diana became Diana. It's not to say that the other people didn't. It's not to say that they didn't have the talent, the other people, but the other ones actually stood out more.
Exactly.
And they were able to parlay it into something bigger than other people. But that's not to say that you couldn't take your career to the next level. Why couldn't you?
Exactly.
So it's like, you know what? Don't be blaming it on Bob.
Right. And it's all, and like you said something, it takes work.
Yeah.
Music is 90% business, 10% music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as a former on the board of governors for the Recording Academy,
Yeah.
about that the business
Yeah, it
side
is a
is
business, you know.
most
I mean, even
important.
with fashion, when I talk to my students, my fashion students, Miss Kelly, fashion is my passion. And I said,
Right.
that may be true, but fashion is a business.
Yes.
You know, it's not just about looking cute and wearing the clothes. You really have to understand the business and how it works. And I think that's what Michael, Prince, and the rest of these people, they knew.
Right.
Because when I think about the Jacksons, and I love the Jacksons, but they never did another album after Michael decided he was Michael.
Right.
So why didn't they go in and do other stuff?
Right.
So who knows? I don't know, but I just know that they're sitting around waiting for Michael, thinking he was going to come back and do a song with them, and it's like, you guys are talented. Why don't you do something?
Exactly. Janet did.
Right. But anyway, so I think that Bob Marley, I think it hurt him that he had, that the record company was pushing his Wailers aside, but he knew that he had to do what he needed to do to keep this record deal going.
Right. And he had a message that he needed to get out.
He did.
Yes,
really
and
did.
he was a songwriter. He was a musician, and I think that Bob. I really do think that Bob had a huge capacity to love. I really do.
Yeah.
I never met the man, but his music is just so full of love. I think he said that in a few interviews, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not just Bob. Rita was like that too,
Yes,
and
yes,
I think that's
exactly.
why their bond was so special. I don't know if you guys ever seen this movie, Lackawanna Blues. That is my one of my favorite movies. There is a scene in there where Terrence Howard is the husband, and when the wife, she says, there's things that go on between a man and a woman that only a man and a woman understand.
Oh yes, okay. That's
So other people can look out and see why she do that or why you know what? If they have an understanding, that's all that matters.
That's their business. That's their business.
All that matters.
Stay out of
what they feel.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that I liked about Rita. She knew people was talking about her. She knew it. She felt it, and it hurt her a little bit, but she held her head up.
Okay.
And was like, look, I know what I'm doing.
Queen business. That's what queens do.
Baby,
Queens mind their own regal business. And if you see those comments in the chat, there's chickens and eagles. Are you an eagle or are you a chicken?
Yeah. But not only is she a queen, she was a boss.
Right.
That's what you call a boss lady.
Right.
Rita was a boss lady, because like I said, that would break a lot of people, and people would be shamed, and some of them women probably would have just divorced the man.
Right.
But she was like, I didn't put in all this hard work. Oh, no. And then he wasn't even thinking about divorcing. That was more her always thinking about that, not him.
Right.
Bob was smart. He knew what he had.
I think both of them were smart. And again, they were ahead of all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the polyamory thing.
Yeah.
Sharing the love.
Yeah.
She did it as well because she had obviously children with other people. So it seems like they were both on a higher level.
They were in tune with each other
than most people.
Yeah,
yes,
they were
on a higher level than most people.
They were in tune.
It took us a long time to catch up to Bob and Rita.
Yeah.
Because I certainly didn't understand it when I first read. Where's the other book? This is my introduction to Bob Marley, which I read in college.
What's the name of it?
It's called Catch a Fire by Timothy White.
Okay.
This is where I first read about the life of Bob Marley and Rita. There's a lot about
Rita.
Rita.
Really good book.
Yes,
he's a good author.
Yes. And also, if you want to, this is a fictionalized account of what happened, what might have happened when Bob was shot. It's in the movie. And what happened to the gunmen and the society at that time. Marlon James, A Brief History of 7 Killings. It was nominated for an award. It's fiction, but it's dead on. It was written by a young man that grew up in Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
And
nice. I have to check that out.
History of brief history of 7 killings. So I think maybe a lot of one scene in the movie might have been influenced by this. I don't know, but it's a fascinating read.
Well, what I didn't understand about that Trench Town, I was like, I don't want to go there because them people don't play.
Right.
During election time, they kill the opponents. I'm like,
that's in this book.
I'm like, what?
Right.
Are you serious? yeah, so that was kind of crazy to me. And the simple fact that Rita got shot
Yeah.
and her dreads saved her life.
That's in the movie. That's in
Her
One Love.
dreadlock saved her
Yeah.
life. And I'm like, is that real?
Poetic justice.
Ooh, child. You know,
Yes.
both of them getting shot like that. And the simple fact that somebody would want to take their lives. Like,
Yeah.
why? Like,
Right.
really?
Right.
You know, and
right.
so that's when she had to get up out of there, and Bob wanted her to go away to be safe, and, you know, thinking about the children and stuff like that. So it makes me wonder, how much do the children remember?
Right. Right.
You know, I would love to sit down and talk to one of the children, you know,
Right.
and just to find out their spin on it, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, but the simple fact that, you know, the mom has raised them to be who they are and what they are, celebrities in their own right now.
Right.
I guess it must have been okay.
Celebrities with class. And I met Mrs. I call her Ms. Marley. I just can't, when I'm in her presence, I just can't call her Rita.
I can believe that.
Because
I would
she's
do
an
the same.
elder. So I
Yeah.
said, oh, Ms. Marley, I just, I love your kids so much. You did a great job. I just love them. And she said to me, thank you for loving them. And she gave me a big hug. She's very chill.
Aww.
She was very chill. Her spirit was just open, no diva attitude.
Now, what does Marley say? He said, just cool.
Right, just cool, right.
I love
just
that.
Cool.
Just cool.
Yeah, and so, yeah, she's just, I can't call her Rita, I'm sorry, even when I'm talking on the podcast, because we were taught to call our elders, we were taught not to use their first name.
First name.
If I call my Aunt Mary at 90 years old, she's back I don't know what out of me.
Right, and you know, and my students call me Miss Kelly. So,
right,
you know,
Miss Kelly, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm calling Rita
like
I know her.
Right, because,
you know,
but she's known.
Miss Marley.
Miss Mar- we're calling her
me.
by her stage name.
Yeah,
we're calling her by her stage name.
Absolutely.
Remember Maya Angelou said, she went off on this one student, you do not call me Maya, I'm Dr. Angelou to
Yes,
you.
absolutely, absolutely.
But Rita didn't have that vibe. She was just chill.
Yeah.
But it's Mrs. Marley.
Yeah. Well, like I said, she is my newfound shero. I mean, I found someone, just some of the things that she was saying in this chapter just had so much wisdom, especially as she was talking about her relationship with Bob when she was a young girl, you know, and how Auntie would kind of get into it. And I loved Auntie, how Auntie was really trying to guide her to be a better person and to be good and to be able to get up out of Trent Town if she stayed focused on her goal.
Right.
And she didn't think Bob was that goal. But what I liked about Rita was like, well, you know what? He really is. You know, Auntie, you'll see later. And so
she had the vision.
And it was so funny because she said to them when he would get on television or a radio interview, she'd go, see, Auntie? And then Auntie would be like, oh, okay. You know, but when she wasn't doing, when she didn't think that Miss Marley was doing right, she would actually tell the neighbors, see what that girl does now? Now she's not eating pork because she's this Rastafarian.
But all aunties do that.
Yeah, it tickled me. I was just like, oh my gosh, she was more of a mother to that girl.
Yes,
she was more of a genuine mother than Auntie.
And I think what connected Bob and Rita, I'm using their movie names now. I think what connected them was that they both had a history of abandonment. They felt, yes, was Bob's father had abandoned him, and Rita's mom had went abroad and left her. So they talk about it in the movie as teenagers, where they talk about a feeling of aloneness and alienation and abandonment. And I think that's part of the bond, don't you?
Now look, so on page 35, here it is. It says, and I think our relationship came out of wanting, needing, seeing the need in each other. My need in you, I need someone like you to help me, to make me what I am, what I want to be.
That's beautiful.
And I think we did great. So that's what they had this magical bond. I think, you know, sometimes I think all of us are put on this earth with a special talent, a special gift. A lot of us don't know what that gift is. We don't pursue it. We don't encourage it. We don't grow it. And for those that do, I think that they are, how do I say? I think then they are geared towards that special mate. And so the mate that you end up with is that mate that can actually handle your greatness.
Yes,
That's what I believe.
That's a great point, that could handle, because not everybody can handle greatness. Some people are intimidated.
Yep.
Some people want the light themselves.
Yep.
Oh, how come everyone's coming up to my wife?
Yeah.
How come everyone's coming up to my husband?
Yeah.
But, it takes a real strong soul
to be able to
stand in the background when you need to.
And that makes me think of Katherine Jackson. She's another example of like a Miss Marley who's able to withstand all the pressure, all the gossip and all the this and the that.
Right.
Who was there when Joe died?
Catherine.
You see,
Catherine. Yes.
you see.
Yes.
End of conversation.
Yes. And I think sometimes it's a spiritual gun, but it's way beyond sex, way beyond money. It's
absolutely.
It's just bad. And I think the Jamaican as a culture, they understand the magic. Jamaican culture is somewhat advanced in terms of relationships. And I think we Westerners, Americans, really don't get it because of the Judeo-Christian tradition.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Rastafarianism is based on a myth, it's very based on the Bible. And in the Bible, you have your polyamorous relationships, especially in times of hardships when one woman couldn't get pregnant, so she had her sister or surrogate or something. There's a lot of things, but we don't really focus. We focus on the parts of the Bible that we agree with, that we approve of, right? But so I think that it's just it's hard to judge people and Bob's lifestyle, because we did not grow up in that culture, right? Yeah.
Look, I'm looking at one of my notes where it says the Wailing Wailers had a concert at National Stadium that night on the bill with the Jackson 5.
Oh, isn't that see? It's all full circle.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Now I wonder if Bob and Michael just sat down in their room and either smoked a joint or just had a talk. What do you think?
Oh, I can see Michael's. No, I cannot see Michael lighting up, but you never know. You know what I mean?
Right. Nah. There's a famous picture of Bob Marley and the Jacksons in a tree in Jamaica, but we don't hear much about the dialogue that went a lot. Wait, maybe we could track down some of the people that are alive that were there. That might
Yeah,
tell
that would
us.
be interesting.
There's some people still around that on Instagram, Facebook. There's we're interconnected.
So I see that they liked that's the other thing. Bob Marley used to love Marcus Garvey.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Garvey,
I thought that was very interesting. So here it says some Jamaicans paid particular attention to Garvey's prophecy that an African king would deliver us from our situation as colonized people.
Right. It was Marcus Garvey, Haile Selassie.
Right, and then that's when it says, and then became to believe the European ruler, Emperor Haile Selassie, to have been that person.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the most important thing is that Bob was way ahead of everybody in terms of Afrocentric thinking and black pride, black self-determination, black beauty. There was a girlfriend he had in Africa, Pascaline Bongo. When he first saw her, he said to her backstage, "You are very ugly." She was offended. He was talking about her straightening of the hair. He said, "Sister, your hair is beautiful. Why are you frying it like that?" Right?
Yeah.
That's what he meant. But she eventually went more rootsy, but he wasn't trying to insult her. He was just saying that, why are we changing our appearance to conform to European culture?
Right. I mean, because there was a part in the book that I'm trying to see if I can find it right now, where he had told Miss Marley that, you are beautiful the way you are. There's no need for you to change anything.
Yes, exactly.
No need to change anything. And, at first she wasn't really keen on having her hair like that. And then, she did it. But then when she went to America, they straightened her hair.
Yeah.
And
What's that about?
And put her on makeup, and she loved it. She was like, "Oh, I haven't seen me look like this." So I think there was something to having a change.
Yeah. There's a change up for us
for a hot second, but then she went back to who she was. Yeah.
And that's another thing about choice. A woman should have the freedom to change up without, worrying about oppression or
Right. And girl, the simple fact that we got hair laws where black people can't wear their hair.
I know.
And say, I'm just like, I'm so through with America. I don't know what to do.
But now we have the Crown Act that protects natural
No,
hairstyling.
I don't even want to get on that whole story. We'll talk about that
Oh,
later.
okay,
I want to
okay.
stay focused with this.
Oh,
but
okay.
Remind me to talk about
Okay,
that, though.
the Crown Act. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. But let's get back to Bob and Rita and the movie. So, again, the highlights in the movie was just energy flowing. I think it could have been a series on television.
Yes,
I would have
yes,
wanted. I would have
yes.
wanted more and longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's so much more to his life that wasn't shown and talked about.
Right.
So I think you guys can still do like a mini series.
Yeah, so a mini series.
Do a mini series where you can actually include the kids.
Right,
where
right.
we get to hear from them right now. So
exactly.
I don't think we're done with the Marleys yet.
Right. And it's such a huge life. And under 2 hours, it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I know, they had to rush through a lot, and leave out a lot.
Right.
But I think a mini series would have allowed you more time to really, really tell the story. And again, it's not too late. Look how many they get ready to do another Michael Jackson biography.
I know.
So,
now that's going to be interesting.
So, but that's why we can do another Marley thing for television. I think that would be really good, and maybe you can even cast some of the real family members as the people.
Yes, and then
make it a documentary. I don't know,
yes,
but let's keep it going.
And there's definitely certainly enough music to feature that.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget about the music. Yes, and so we felt that people think about Marley, I think, as family. Because I talked to a friend and she said, "Oh, it was like watching my family on there." So everyone has a personal connection with Bob. Yeah. So I think a part of the critics is like people feel that they know Bob so well that they want to tell Bob's story through their narrative, through their lens, right?
Yeah.
And everyone, when I first read the book, I put myself in the book and I was imagining, okay, this is a movie. Who's going to play Bob? Who's going to play Rita? I envisioned the characters in my head right after I read the book back in college. So it's really fascinating to see how it actually came to fruition. It's a hard thing to do because we all have a version in our head of us being with Bob, or we think that we know Bob, right?
Oh, absolutely. Right. So now listen to this. This goes back to the hair thing where he had said this to Rita. This was on page 38, guys. As soon as Auntie allowed Bob to take me out, he began to show me the Rasta way to live. You're a queen, a black queen, he said. You're pretty just as you are. You don't need to do anything else. You don't have to straighten your hair. You can wear it natural. I love that.
I love that. Yay, Bob. Right?
Yeah.
See how advanced Bob was in his thinking?
Yeah. No, he was definitely a laid back, cool kind of guy. And it was very interesting about being in America. He didn't like wearing a suit and all of that, because he likes wearing his t-shirt and his jeans, and very comfortable with that.
Right.
As a matter of fact, speaking of which, after I read the book and found out that they had the foundation, because she mentioned the foundation in there, I went to the foundation, and oh my God, you can shop. Beautiful t-shirts and sweatshirts, and so I'm definitely going to get one. I didn't know which one to get. I was like, oh, this is overwhelming. Which one do you get?
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice then to see his soccer outfits and things like that.
Yes,
I thought
was awesome.
that was good. And so if you guys get a chance, make sure you go to the Bob Marley Foundation and go shopping.
Go shopping and support And guess what? We are in a BMW. What was Bob Marley's favorite car? A BMW. Why?
Well, because it's a good car.
It's a good car. And Bob Marley and the Wailers. He said that was his car. BMW.
Oh, the BMW.
For Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Okay, so I missed that one.
Yeah.
I surely missed that one.
I think there's a shot of in the movie.
In the movie that it does that.
So we're in the BMW as a tribute to Bob.
So now, do we think this movie's going to get nominated for anything?
Oh yeah,
it better.
I predict Best Picture, Best Actress, Lashana Lynch, Best Actor. Kingsley, how do you say?
Kingsley
Benadier. Kingsley Benadier.
Right.
The music, best score, Stephen Marley. So best soundtrack or best score. I predict Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Score. What about you?
And so if it doesn't happen, I won't be surprised.
Why is it?
Well, because we know how these award
Oh,
shows
yeah,
are. You know
right.
how I feel about
Right.
them. I always felt that we make such a big deal out of the Academy Awards, out
Mm-hmm.
of the Grammys.
Right.
And I
Right.
know that if they didn't have us, they wouldn't even exist.
Exactly. Right.
So if we showed them by not showing up,
Mm-hmm.
then things would change.
Right.
But as
Right.
long as we keep crying and begging for their
For their
attention,
approval.
we're
Yeah.
not going to get it.
Right.
So, it, in our eyes, he already won the Grammys.
Right,
He
right.
already won
This
the
movie
Academy
already
Award.
has an
You know what I'm
Academy
saying?
Award
In
for that.
our eyes.
Right.
So in terms of what they say, it
Mhm.
won't really matter, especially
Exactly.
to me.
Right. Right.
So I don't let them be the judge and jury of my people's work.
This is definitely the film of the decade.
It better
right?
be. Well, because you know what? It's really not just talking about just in anybody. This was a brilliant man who and it wasn't just about his music. He changed lives.
Mm-hmm.
He gave people hope.
Mm-hmm.
He got people out of poverty. He
Right.
showed people that there's other ways of doing things other than committing crimes and
Right.
whatnot.
Exactly.
So his legacy is much more than music, as far
Right.
as I'm concerned.
Right. Right. Exactly. And especially it's politics,
Absolutely.
it's culture, fashion. Adidas.
All of it.
Adidas has a new Bob Marley shoe out. There's countries that when they go to war, countries have gone to war and they played Bob Marley's music
You see?
when they're fighting. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So he was just much more than a musician,
Right,
and an artist.
right.
He
It's
was definitely,
Transcendent.
yes, he was
So-
definitely the guy.
So in closing, we're almost at an hour. We better wrap this up. And if we have anything to add, we will add on to this video. But what would you like to say in closing?
I
Kelly
just want to
Armstrong?
say, Sheila, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. Sheila and I went to the movies together. I had already seen it with my husband, and I said, Sheila, we need to see it together. So we're in the movie taking notes and laughing and eating popcorn
Right.
and like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait for this day to be able to sit and share how much that movie and the book meant to me. And that I found out I have this kindred spirit with
Right.
Miss Marley.
Miss
And so
Marley.
I am just so grateful for you having me here.
And
And if you haven't seen the movie, please go see it. And then also make sure you do go to the foundation. Bob, what is it?
the Bob Marley Foundation. Check out the One Love movie. Check out Ziggy Marley is on tour this summer, ziggymarley.com. Stephen Marley's on tour. Damien, the Traffic Jam tour. YG Marley is
And
on
look at
tour.
this girl. She know all about. She know all of their stuff.
The
I love
Marleys
it.
are dominating the culture right now.
Well, she's so funny, guys. She was like, Kelly, when we go see the movie, wear Rastafarian colors. I'm like, I don't have Rastafarian colors. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but she did. She wore a beautiful
I
shirt
found
that
something.
she had made.
I
yeah.
found something that
Yeah,
I was
so
able
let's
to
let's
wear.
see if Kelly designs her own San Francisco-based Rasta attire.
Well,
Because we some hippies out here, okay? We some hippies, and we will put the trunk on our back and the lid on our head, like Zora Neale
I'm
Hurston
telling you,
said.
so-
and we don't care about fashion standards or nothing. We do our own thing.
Absolutely.
Out here in Frisco.
Absolutely. So to
yeah.
the Marley family, one love.
One love. One love. Thank you, everybody, for bringing this beautiful film tonight. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly is an intellectual and a professor. So thank you for your wonderful insight. And it's great to talk to someone who's brand new to the culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and bringing your
Absolutely.
knowledge and your wisdom as a university professor and a stylist in the music industry. Thank you for bringing your perspective.
Well, thank you so
You're
much. Like I
right.
said, I enjoyed it, and I got more books to read. I see.
Me too. Okay, love
you, everybody.
y'all. One
Bye-bye.
love. Bye-bye.